Hey, if you read my text blog yesterday at webcookingclasses.com, you'll know I went and saw that movie, Julia and Julie. And I have all the respect in the world for Julia Child and love Stanley Tucci. He was in my other favorite food movie, The Big Night. You should see that one instead. But anyway, 20-something-year-old Julie Powell decides that she's going to cook every recipe in a Julia Child cookbook. Not this one, the other one. And you know what? It works. Every recipe comes out perfectly. This is the first time. She learns to cook only from following recipes. It's fantastic. It's Hollywood. It's the direct opposite of everything I've been talking about for 2 years now. You can't learn to cook from following recipes any more than you can learn Japanese by reading a Japanese novel. Basic cooking methods behind all these recipes. So to prove my point, what I'm going to do today, and it's been a long time since I've cooked exactly from a recipe, I'm going to find the beef bourguignon recipe. It's the centerpiece of the movie, and it comes out perfectly for her. Oh, or as they say, boeuf bourguignon. All right, beef bourguignon, me and you. I'm going to use it directly out of this recipe book. Follow the recipe exactly, and let's see how I do. But, you know, it would be unfair in this stainless steel kitchen. So, Mr. Magic Eraser Man, give me the home kitchen. Let's get rid of the chef hat and the coat. All right, the home kitchen is much more fair for this comparison because my 60,000 BTU stove would be a different story. And plus I'd be compelled to be a chef and forget the cookbook. So let's take a look at this beef bourguignon recipe to begin with. And imagine I'm Julie Powell, a 20-something-year-old woman in New York who's going to make beef bourguignon perfectly the first time. So let's decipher the recipe. All right, first of all, in this cookbook, beef bourguignon or boeuf bourguignon isn't, there's a master recipe. It's a sub-recipe. So we go over here and we find that the master recipe is Zinfandel of beef for 6 to 8 servings. Well, gee, it's just Heather and I, it's just my wife and I, we don't need 6 to 8 servings. So what I'm going to do is make it 2 servings. So when I say 3 to 4 pounds of boneless beef stew, oh, geez, now I got to do some math, right? To change all the stuff, when I come down here, the Burmani, 3 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of softened butter. So what is a quarter of 3 tablespoons? That's like one of my tests from culinary school. A quarter of 3 tablespoons, 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon, 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon, so that's 9. Here's a great one. It calls for 2/3 of a cup of sliced carrots. And I'm making a quarter of this recipe. What is a quarter of 2/3 of a cup? What's that, like 2 tablespoons? I'm supposed to do 2 tablespoons of sliced carrots? Hi. First, the recipe says dry the meat on paper towels, and they're absolutely right about this because wet meat will steam, wet meat will not brown. Step 1, dry the beef. The recipe reads, film a frying pan with a 1/16 of an inch of oil. Okay. Should I get my ruler? The recipe reads, when very hot but not smoking, brown as many pieces of meat. Well, how do I know? Yeah, it seems very hot, and no, it's not smoking, so okay. Recipe reads, turn frequently to brown all sides. Cook 3 to 5 minutes. Well, you know, I think it's going to take me 3 minutes to turn each of these little pieces a cube. Oh, for goodness sake. All right, exactly 4 minutes. It doesn't tell me what I was looking for, but 4 minutes. The recipe reads, skim all but a spoonful, turn out into the casserole. Turn in the sliced vegetables. Let's go ahead and add our onions. I think it was like 4 carrots. There you go. Stirring and tossing for 3 to 4 minutes until brown. Let's set the timer again. All right, that's 3.5 minutes. They said lightly browned. That's looking a little burnt to me, but I'm going by the recipe. Then the recipe says to add a cup of liquid, but I'm doing a quarter of the recipe, so I guess I need a quarter of a cup of liquid. A little bit of wine and a little bit of beef broth to equal a quarter of a cup. In the pan, swish around to release the burnt bits. the recipe says, and pour over the beef in the casserole. Recipe reads, add the garlic, and the recipe says 4 more cups of liquid, but I'm doing a quarter of the recipe. So we will add a cup of wine and beef stock. All right, I've got everything in the casserole like the recipe told me to. And you know what? I've been back and forth to this cookbook, reading it line by line. I'm exhausted. I'm trying. I mean, I'm really trying to cook this by the recipe. But I know your frustration. I understand. I'm an hour and 40 minutes into this, and I've still got 2.5 hours of cooking to do between the math, reading the recipe, prepping the ingredients. All right, now the exciting part, finishing the stew. Pour the contents of the casserole into a colander set over a saucepan. Wash out the casserole and return the pieces of beef to it. After I wash it, okay, you should have about 3 cups. Boil it down and remove from the heat. And then thicken with my Bourguignon, my flour and butter put together. So let's go ahead and try and do all that. I'm counting about 6 pans right now, and we're, I don't know, 5 hours into it. So pour it through the colander. Press. Oh, I'm supposed to take the beef out? Am I going to stand here with tongs? Pick each beef, whatever. Press it through and return that to the casserole. And my Bourguignon, add that in. Whisk and thicken. All right, and once my liquid has thickened to the point that I would like, it goes back over the beef. And there's the Julia and Julie beef bourguignon. 4.5 hours or so, and lots of math and back and forth from the recipe, but let's see what we got. Let's take a look and take a taste. A little bit of that gravy. Get myself a fork. Not bad looking, huh? Nice flavor, aroma, beef aroma. That's good. That tastes very good. That long cooking process helped tenderize the meat, bring the flavors together. And actually, the result is pretty good. I taste a little bit of that burnt flavor from when I burnt the onions. But I'm also counting 6 pans, hours worth of work. It's no wonder you're frustrated by recipes. Come to webcookingclasses.com tomorrow for my written blog, my text blog, and I'll tell you how I would do this Chef Todd style with 1 pan and a lot less than 5 hours. Webcookingclasses.com, read it tomorrow.